Can you work yourself to death? You must have heard some of your colleagues using some version of this statement when they're overworked. Well, they don't mean it. But here in Japan, this is a real thing. In fact, death from overwork is so common in Japan that there is even a word for it, karoshi. It simply means death by overwork. So why are the Japanese dying from overwork? And why is the work culture in Japan so toxic? Here's a special report. We are at the Shibuya crossing in Tokyo. It's probably the busiest place in the world. Everywhere you look, you see people. Some are shopping, some are heading back from work, but everyone seems to be in a hurry. Here in Shibuya, around 3,000 people are crossing at any given time. 3,000 people at one intersection. What does it look like? Take a look. There are 3 large screens mounted on the buildings nearby. They keep playing advertisements, movie posters, trailers, sometimes even news. Down below is a Starbucks, not just any Starbucks, the busiest in the world, we're told. So if you like your coffee ASAP, maybe not here. The Shibuya crossing has been compared to other busy squares, like Times Square in New York or Piccadilly Circus in London. But this place has a vibe of its own. It's busy, it's frantic, it's quintessential Japan. And that is not always a good thing. Shibuya is the perfect place to talk about Japan's work culture, how toxic it actually is, how it affects the average Japanese worker, and what can be done to improve it. Let me begin with a question. Do you complain about working overtime, about not getting enough leave or holidays? Well, most of us do, but not here in Japan. Here, working extra is considered the norm. Around 25% companies ask their employees to do 80 hours of extra time, 80 hours. And most of that is unpaid. After all that work, most people would like to sip some margarita on the beach, but not the Japanese. On an average, Japanese workers do not use 10 of their vacation days. And if they do, they feel guilty about it. 63% of Japanese workers regret taking holidays. Imagine all that pressure every single day. The pressure at work, the pressure at home. At some point, the body just gives up. In fact, the Japanese have a word for it. They call it karoshi, meaning death by overwork. The Japanese government officially admits around 200 karoshi deaths every year. Unofficially, the figure is said to be much higher. By some estimates, 10,000 deaths every year. How exactly did Japan come to be obsessed with this toxic culture? Time for a quick history lesson. Japan follows something called the Bushido Code. It was initially used by the samurais. The Bushido Code has 3 main pillars: daily diligence, commitment to excellence, and loyalty to employer. Well, it's great for a samurai, but not if you're an underpaid corporate slogger. The Bushido Code went into overdrive after the Second World War. Japan had to be rebuilt from scratch, and that required committed and loyal workers. People who would work more and question less. Today you can see them all over the streets. They call them salarymen. There are women too, but these terms were created after the Second World War and salarymen stuck, so we'll go with it. Their attire is pretty standard. White shirt tucked in, briefcase in hand, and always in a hurry. At night we see a different version of a salaryman. Tired, shoulders slouched, and most often catching the last train home. They're tired for 2 reasons. One is the endless work. The other is the after-work drinks. And the problem is, you cannot skip even the second one. All the workers get together and drink late into the night. They complain about their bosses, they drink, they party, and if you do not join, you're considered a bad sport. This non-stop lifestyle is taking a toll on Japanese workers. People are literally working their way into depression. How do you fix decades of toxic work culture? The government tried something new in 2017. They called it Premium Fridays. The last Friday of every month was to be spent having fun. Here in Japan, salary is paid on the last Friday. Plus on this day, workers can leave office at 3 p.m. So the idea was to go big, maybe do a bit of shopping or travel around. Great idea, except the companies did not agree. 45% of the companies say they have no plan to give Premium Fridays. 37% say they're planning to, and that's the problem with this government scheme. It is optional for companies. To change a decades-old work culture, you must tackle the roots. Optional schemes will not work. What Japan needs is a cultural overhaul, something the younger generation is slowly learning. Taking a holiday is not a bad thing, neither is asking for higher wages. Japan's relentless work ethic may have built this great metropolis. It may have built the 3rd largest economy in the world. But what's the point if people cannot enjoy that prosperity? WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.